I think recently, with the kind of the fallout from Ferguson, Baltimore, Chicago, and the other high-profile cases across the country, there's been an emphasis put on de-escalation. And so a lot of agencies have stepped up their game, stepped up their training, and looked at a broader and deeper picture as to what we can do to help de-escalate these critical situations that we are faced with every day on the streets. And I think it should be noted that with every day, there are great acts of de-escalation that occur within Salt Lake City and across the country that no one ever knows about. I mean, they happen all the time. But what we've tried to do here at Salt Lake City is really foot stomp or emphasize de-escalation, because the way you change a culture and the way you change the perception is what you reward and what you teach and what you train. And so we've stepped up our training in de-escalation. Now that can be anywhere from verbal to crisis management to CIT training, critical dealing with mental crisis situations, because many times we're kind of thrust, we're the tip of the spear, or we're the first contact on those situations. I mean, not very often do people call the police department when they're having a great day. It's usually when they're having the crisis of their life. And that can be anywhere from, a domestic, some sort of assault, somebody on drugs, spice, or a mental health crisis. But what we've really tried to do in our training and through our training unit is to teach people to look for cover, to look for distance, which will provide them more time to respond to the situation at hand.
A lot of us have no problem sitting back and waiting for another officer. Like, we'll see something happen, we'll call for a back. Once our back gets there, then we'll go handle the situation. For some reason, in our brains, there's this block that says, what's the difference between doing that and engaging, it doesn't go well, and disengaging and calling for another officer? For some reason, in a lot of our brains, we're like, we can't do that, we've already engaged, we can't disengage. What's the difference between waiting for another officer and then engaging, or getting into a situation, figuring out we're out in over our head, we're going to get hurt, and disengaging? There really shouldn't be that much of a difference, but for some reason in our minds there's that block, like, no, I'm already here, I got this, I can't give it up. No, you can. If it's safer for you to give it up, give it up. Get your back, get another guy, and then we'll get it back, right?
Right, kind of the same principle. If we can remove that person away from the scene before we take them into custody, maybe the rest of the people involved don't go bananas on us, right? So those are kind of our three options when we're dealing with arresting people in a hostile crowd or in a crowd that becomes hostile.
Moving forward is the key. Learning from the past is extremely important. So when we have a shooting, Rio Grande, Major Street, the avenues, we have our training unit come out to the scene and actually, when things are clear, do a walkthrough and kind of a hot wash of the situation so that we can take what occurred back into our department and train lessons learned or better tactics. I think that's critical. We recently changed our core values of our police department to be character, compassion, community service, communication, and courage. And let me tell you, compassion and communication, all five of those are foundational principles that we honor and cherish very deeply. But policing is compassion. And you have to be a good communicator to do this job. And that kind of goes back to your first statement. These young officers we hire, they are good communicators. They may be techies. They may know how to run the phone and do all those things, Twitter and everything else, but they're good communicators.